Hello, and welcome to Pop and Fig. In this episode, I'm going to go over what you should know before you watch the second Avengers movie, Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, this episode's probably going to be better known as MCU Summary Part 2. Now, Part 1 I've already posted, so at the end of this video, I have a link to this playlist, so you can go through there and find the link to the first video. So with that, I hope you enjoy. Okay, so first I'm going to go over what happened in the first Avengers movie. So in that movie, it opens up with S.H.I.E.L.D. working on the Tesseract, and it opens like a little portal, and Loki appears. So Loki has a new boss, who I'll mention at the end of this segment, and he got a new, fancy scepter that's very powerful. It can shoot blasts, and it can mind control people. So of course, the first thing Loki does is mind control a few S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, including Hawkeye, and Loki takes the Tesseract, and he's going to build a contraption, and I'll get into more detail on that in a little bit. So Nick Fury's like, okay, we have a problem, so now, you know what, we're going to have to assemble the Avengers. So Tony Stark, he was working on a building in New York called Stark Tower. I mean, sure, we've only seen him in California, why not in New York? Is it just me or is everything in New York? So yeah, he started working on Stark Tower. Captain America was just roaming around, just seeing what the 21st century was like. The Hulk was in another country, and the Black Widow had to retrieve him. Now, not for the Hulk purposes, for Bruce Banner, because the Tesseract emitted some gamma radiation, and who would know how to track gamma radiation better than Bruce Banner? So, yeah, so they use him for scientific purposes, not for the brute strength. So, yeah, they all gathered, and Thor will actually appear in a little bit. So, they had assembled on the Helicarrier, which is not just it's pretty much a normal carrier, but that can fly because it has like 4 giant propellers. So that belongs to S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't think it belongs to the U.S. government. So they meet there, and they find where Loki was going to hit to get some resources for his contraption. So they go there, they capture him, and Thor comes over, finding out that Loki's still alive. So he, Captain America, and Iron Man have a little fight until they discover they're all on the same side. So then they go back to the Helicarrier with Loki. But they didn't know that Loki was tracked, so Loki's henchmen, or whatever you want to call him, including Hawkeye, brought chaos onto the Helicarrier. Loki killed Agent Coulson, who I mentioned a little bit in that last video. Well, he's dead. If you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you would know he's still alive. But within the movies, he's dead. So, yeah. And then, so pretty much everyone was scattered. Like, Loki was back with his group. However, Hawkeye stayed on the Helicarrier because he was knocked out by the Black Widow. So when Hawkeye woke up, he was normal. But yeah, most of the Avengers are still on the Helicarrier. However, Thor fell off, and so did the Hulk. Bruce Banner freaked out and turned into the Hulk without control. So yeah, they were all over the place. But then they figured out where Loki was going to go and use his contraption, which was finished. And they discovered he was going to go to Stark Tower because it was at a high point. Now, what did this contraption do? Well, at the heart of it was the Tesseract, and it was going to open up a huge portal, like a giant portal over New York. So the Avengers got there, but they were too late. Loki had already opened the portal, and an alien army belonging to Loki's new boss, and yeah, pretty much it wreaked havoc all over New York. So the Avengers, are holding the aliens off, including Loki, like wave by wave, getting tougher each time. Them barely handling the crisis. And then, of course, there's that rogue S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that goes, you know what, I'm just going to send a nuke. Why S.H.I.E.L.D. even has nukes, I have no idea. So, yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent sends it. Nick Fury warns the Avengers. Iron Man takes it up through the portal and destroys the Chitauri mothership. The aliens were known as the Chitauri. I should have pointed that out. So, Iron Man falls back to Earth through the portal as it starts to close because the Avengers figured out a way on how to close the portal while nobody was watching it. So yeah, pretty much all the Chitauri were had died, and Loki was defeated. So what happened at the end of that movie? Pretty much everybody went their own separate ways. Iron Man messed with Stark Tower and turned it into Avengers Tower, and then Captain America went his own way, dealing with the 21st century. I'll actually get into what he was doing. I don't really know what Black Widow and Hawkeye were doing. Hawkeye and the Hulk we don't see until Avengers Age of Ultron. So yeah, they went their own separate ways. Thor used the Tesseract to take Loki back to Asgard. So yeah, pretty much everyone went their own separate ways. However, something to keep in mind, the Loki scepter, S.H.I.E.L.D. still has at this point. So, what about Iron Man? All I'm going to say is that he had, like, nightmares and traumas after going through the portal, because when he went through the portal with the nuke, he couldn't breathe. So, like, he's stuck with that stress and trauma whenever he thinks about it. So, pretty much the main point of that is that he's dealing with his problems. He's dealing with some stress he's gone through. Now, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, the second Avengers movie, this one is pretty important. So, Captain America is working alongside S.H.I.E.L.D. He's also making it some new friends. Sam Wilson, who becomes the Falcon. But yeah, so Cap's working with S.H.I.E.L.D., but then he discovers that S.H.I.E.L.D. is not exactly what everybody thought it was, including S.H.I.E.L.D. itself. So during the foundation of S.H.I.E.L.D., there was apparently a Hydra mole. So as S.H.I.E.L.D. grew, so did Hydra. So apparently half of them were actual S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, whereas the other half were actual secret Hydra agents. And S.H.I.E.L.D. was working on like new technologies that were both pretty helpful, but also very, 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 very dangerous. So, of course, in the hands of Hydra, that would kill millions, if not over 1 billion people, which it probably would have done over the course of maybe even a month. Cap and Nick Fury help shut down S.H.I.E.L.D. But however, Hydra was still up. So S.H.I.E.L.D. is down, So that means the Avengers have no more backups. They're on their own. But this also means that Hydra has Loki's scepter, which is not the greatest thing in the world, especially in the forces of Hydra. But they are used to cosmic energies and stuff like that. I'll get into why I say that in my next video. So yeah, let me pretty much go over what you need to know. So Iron Man, he and all the Avengers, I'll say, have been stressing out about the fact that there was an alien army in the first place. So they know that there's some force, possibly even greater than them, from up in space. So yes, they're all fearing that, especially Tony. He's paranoid about it. Of course, he gives Cap okay, you're going to be the leader, Cap. But yeah, Tony still kind of wants. So Cap is more of the leader of the Avengers. Tony's more of the person who makes all the suit stuff. He actually says that in one line. So yeah, that's all you really need to know. That Hydra has Loki's scepter, and that Thor even thought it was safe on Earth, which, of course, we can't even trust ourselves human-wise. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know from the first Avengers, from pretty much all before the second Avengers movie. Now, there is a second Thor movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, like a few other movies like that, although those don't actually really affect this movie at all. If they do, it's just small references, but I'll highlight those movies in my next video. Okay guys, that'll have in this video for this week. Now keep in mind this is going to be part 2 of 5 videos for summarizing the MCU. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and sayonara.